Let's go!
Like millions of other 80s babies, Sean Pierson's favorite arcade game was the legendary Street Fighter, known on the block to whoop you with Blanka, just for kicks. Guile was his go-to when things got serious. For Sean, fighting was more than a game, it was his passion. Competing nationally as a Greco-Roman wrestler, Sean eventually took up another fight, fighting crime as a cop. But at the age of 34, with everything on the line, Sean left the Toronto Police to pursue his true fight dream, to compete in the UFC. Now, after 5 years of a stellar UFC career, winning his last 3 bouts, Sean has taken up another fight, teaching businesses how to protect themselves in the dangerous digital world of IT. Ladies and gentlemen, Sean Pierson.
Straight out of the T-Dot.
That's what it is.
Live from the 6 boroughs.
Don't go nowhere.
For sure. Welcome to Standing in the 6 with your hosts Michael and Constantine.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. We have Michael Reventar back in the house. Lord Jesus, back from Newfoundland right now. How's it going, man?
How's it getting on, bye?
Now, tell me. We actually spoke about you last week. Your co-host Neil Forrester spoke about you. You're back now. I mean, you don't have.
Yeah, I saw you had sunglasses on too. You trying to make fun of me?
Do you have a tan? Is it?
I always have a tan.
Can you imagine that? I've never been to Newfoundland. In 60 seconds, tell me your experience.
Oh man, it's just beautiful. Newfoundland is beautiful. So I heard people that were there were saying that they get a lot of people who. They're mostly a lot of Canadians, huge tourism there.
Yeah. And
Canadians are just blown away because you just don't realize. You think you have to go to the Arctic or you have to go to certain parts of the world or Europe in order to see their landscape. Man, just being at the ocean with their kind of 200-foot cliffs,
wow.
Wildlife, it's just amazing.
That reminds me of the Bluffs when you're saying cliffs.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's actually, I was like, yeah, we got this in Scarborough, but it's,
wow.
Imagine like the whole island's like that. It's amazing. People are incredible. Just, they enjoy life. They really enjoy it. Really nice and all about the seafood. I love seafood.
Now, apparently, not only is the seafood spectacular, but it's also like pretty priced well.
Yeah, it's a good price because it's like it's becoming. I think they said that in the summer the population triples.
Wow.
Triples, yeah, because of tourism. Tourism's a huge thing. So we're paying a pretty penny.
Did you have any lobster?
Lobster? Like my soup, I think was $9. My side of fries was like $7.
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's pretty expensive.
Wait, are you talking about down there is expensive?
Yeah.
It should be cheaper, man.
No, it's because of tourism. They just they know just these outside dollars. They fleece us. They're like, oh, you're from out of town.
By the way, now
give them the other menu.
Was the accent strong?
No, my accent stayed the same.
No, but their accent was their accent strong?
Like I know some really good guys from Newfoundland, so I'm used to it. I can pick up on it. But yeah, the act it's there. It's different. It's wicked good. Wicked. I'm trying to. I'm not good at it, but.
Let me ask you this: you were filming down there.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to say the film that you were filming?
It's a TV series. It's a really cool series, Hudson and Rex.
Okay.
Which is a cop show, a really nice Canadian cop show.
Like Turner and Hooch.
Turner and Hooch.
Hooch, yeah,
oh
yeah. I suck at names. I suck.
And yeah, with a German Shepherd.
Okay.
So it's a cop show with a German Shepherd in it, a K9.
Are you being serious right now?
Yeah, I'm being serious.
This actually is like Turner and Hooch?
Turner and Hooch is the movie.
Okay.
With
no, but the one that you did had a dog in it as well.
Yeah, it's called Hudson and Rex.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, German Shepherd. Like, remember the movie K9 with James Belushi?
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Yes.
Yeah, so I guess that would be a good reference.
And your role in the movie is which
Can't
one?
say.
Can't say?
Sorry, can't say. I've said enough.
No, but we can say what you were driving. Can you?
Actually, yeah. I was
or being driven in.
I was on set with a Porsche 911 Carrera.
Wow.
Beautiful red one, tan interior. I was all ready to drive it to start my first scene along the coast. I'm just putting my phone on airplane mode.
That actually is my favorite car.
Really?
Yes. And it still is. I just can't fit in it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It is really small.
Yeah.
You know what? That's funny that you said that. Yeah, because I had a tough time getting in and out of it. I had a briefcase on my lap that's supposed to have $1 million in it.
Really?
Okay, yeah, just fake money. and it was really tough to get in and out of the car.
Wow.
So for you,
Yeah.
yeah, it looked like, remember that big guy gets out of the car in The Simpsons?
Yeah, it'd be very tough. It'd be very tough.
Sick car though. I mean, I got like tons of video and pictures. I literally, like, between every take on set, I had my phone out and I was filming the car.
Really?
Yeah, my dad loves Porsches too, so I can't wait to show him some of the photos.
Wow.
But literally, everyone on set thought I was obsessed with this car.
Wow.
Yeah. And then speaking of tans, I was gonna just tell a quick story. In grade 3, we went down to Florida, my fam,
Okay.
and we went there. I forget where it was, Clearwater. And I'm naturally tanned. I got the gift of olive skin, and it is a gift.
It is.
And
It truly is.
I came back tanned. I can tan really, really quickly, and I
Okay.
spent a whole week out in the sun. When I got back, some kids in my class, they see me, they're like, "Whoa!" and they're like, "What's up, tan boy?" And then it started to spread, and there was about 7 guys, just like in a movie, and they somehow like orchestrated and became one choir, and they started saying tan boy, tan boy. True story.
Really?
And then I fought them. Yeah.
Right.
So I fought them in my first day back off March break. I was in the office with the principal because I tried to hurt my classmates that were calling me tan boy.
Really?
So be careful what you say to me because it might be really
Wow.
sensitive there.
Oh my
Okay?
goodness.
All right?
There's a
I'm more than just my skin color.
There's a recurring theme of bullying almost happening in every single episode. Could this be happening now? Well, look, speaking of fighting, you know who we're seeing today?
It's a good segue.
It is actually an excellent segue. Did you plan it?
Not at all.
Wow, we're natural, man. We're pretty amazing at this.
if we don't say for ourselves, right?
Yes, but we have today Sean Pierson, who was with the UFC for, I believe, 5 years.
Yeah.
And he has quite the story himself. So I'm really looking forward to finding out what his grind was.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a fighter.
Mike,
He's-
I'm going to ask him a question about. Look, we actually were involved with UFC 231.
Yeah.
And I'm going to actually ask him this, but I'll never forget after seeing these guys go through war in that octagon, and then you see them up close now, walking out to the back. Just, they look tattered, man. They look destroyed.
Oh, yeah.
And they go and shower up to get ready, I guess, for press, but they're limping now because they've just gone through a major, major, major body destroyed aspect, man.
We had one of the fighters that was being escorted post-fight. He got knocked out. And when he was walking back in the tunnel to get to the change room, he almost fell over.
Really?
Yeah, he almost fell over.
Right.
And then but he wanted to, I guess, champion it out and walk by himself. But imagine the guy just got knocked out. He's walking out on his own. Yeah, the biggest thing to me about being that close to the octagon was the sound of flesh on flesh. Right?
Yeah.
Like bodies colliding.
Yeah.
In the movies, like you hear all the sound effects and you think it's all done in post, which it's done.
Right.
But there's something about when two people who are just in their underwear, basically, are
Right.
going to blows. It's pretty, man. It's pretty crazy, man. Pretty
It is.
crazy.
It is. And
Yeah,
we'll
you
get-
remember it.
No, for sure. And we'll get more into it when we're speaking with Sean, but you truly get a very different perspective than what you see on TV. 100%.
Yeah. And what you do, like you have huge respect for the fighter because think about we're big on like the mental game on how people mentally check themselves out.
Yeah.
Imagine how checked in you need to be to go in front of 20,000 people. You against one other person,
Right.
right?
Right.
It's you or him that has to go
Exactly.
down. He's trying to
Exactly.
do. That's some serious pressure.
Yeah,
so,
man.
Yeah,
Big time.
what I love about talking with guys that fight, it's a perfect. It speaks on everyday life. Some people just never fight for anything. They don't stand up for anything. They don't fight for anything. They just kind of let life pass them by in a way with a mere existence. But we can learn a lot just from the philosophy of a fighter.
Yeah, 100%. So let's bring him in, and I will ask him one of probably the most first questions is this beautiful poster that's behind me, this new art. Now, Sean is a gamer, okay? And I want to see what his take on this is. 'Cause
Okay.
Let's just see if he even notices it. That sign hasn't been a bit hit in the office. People don't think it fits. However, what does it say? Level up, levels to success. I think sometimes, people just lack one of those levels.
1, hustle. 2, focus. 3, persistence. 4, discipline. 5, patience. 6, risk. 7, failure.
Yes.
Failure is part of success.
Yeah, and if you don't like it, you're a failure.
Yep.
So let's bring in Sean.
All right, Mr. Sean Pierson, folks.
All right.
Let's go.
Check 1 2 1 2. I can't do the smooth sound then, right? It's
I know.
My sexy voice is gonna be
Yeah,
gone.
that's all
All
Jerry.
right, we are recording.
Look at the show off, eh? What a show off.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying we are recording.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Amazing. Amazing.
Let's get a clap slate.
Yeah. Want to give a clap, Jerry? All right. Perfect. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Very happy today that we have Mr. Sean Pierson on the show.
Yeah. Nice.
Sean, you've had a really, really cool journey, man. We've always talked about things like work ethic and grind and hustle and all that. And, having, done that path through the UFC and just elements of your life, man, which we've done a little, we always say we do the background on because,
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll check that out.
We're a security company, so we
Yeah.
know what happened
Yeah.
in grade
The
3.
grind.
Yeah.
We know what happened in grade 3.
That's right.
We know about that embarrassing moment. Not sure.
But before we go there, I want you to look to your right and that sign, okay? Now, we just got that sign last week. There's a mixed feelings about that in the office. I mean, I really like that sign, having gaming elements.
Is it a sign or a glorified poster?
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah. But
Remember posters in the 80s? It was all about posters.
yeah,
right?
being a gamer, what do you think of that sign, just in general?
It's a solid sign. I would have went more for. Like I'm more modern gamer. Like I was big in the Street Fighter, so I've got the Street Fighter series in my house. So like a Street Fighter
The level
console. Yeah, level up. I like that.
up? Yeah.
No, I like the sign overall. Solid. Who's complaining about it?
Yeah.
It's just some mixed people. They're just, it doesn't suit the office. I'm like, I love the sign. I love the old aspect of it,
If I showed you my family room right now, my wife would be like, no. So she bought me that mini it's an arcade. It's an arcade, but it's like
The mini versions,
the mini
right?
version.
Yeah, they're 4 foot high.
Yeah,
yeah,
so
I got
I've
that.
got
too.
that. There's no riser on. I got the Street Fighter 2 one.
I've never seen
And
this.
it's in my
amazing.
family room.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, my family room's all done up modern, and then you've got this video game. She goes, that's got to move. And I'm like, I don't know where to move
Your
it.
wife put it in the family room, or you put it in the
No,
family
my
room?
wife bought it for me for Christmas,
Oh,
and
okay.
I put it in the family room. I'm like, hey, I got nowhere to put it on. So here are the bedrooms, so
This
take
is-
your pick.
Yeah, exactly.
So I got mine in Walmart about, I don't know, around the Christmas time. I bought a Pac-Man version one.
Yep.
And I brought it. I was going to put it in the family room, and I got shut down. My wife goes, no, absolutely not.
So a win for Sean, a loss for Constantine.
Neil would say, you're not in Mon. You're not in Mon.
Yeah, there you go. So now it sits in my son's room now. He has a Pac-Man.
So he won.
Arcade. He won.
He's
He
the
won
winner.
right now.
No,
You can send
mine's
that one to him as well.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
Which
yeah.
one?
The one on the wall.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to mention names that I don't like it either.
Oh, okay. But yeah, man. I mean, gaming. I mean, I do know, obviously, like you've got some titles under your belt with the games aspect of things.
Yeah, which is cool. Like, man.
By the way, who's your favorite Street Fighter character?
Ooh.
It was Guile. So Street Fighter 2, I was a Guile player.
Yeah.
Like for that genre and that age, he's probably the top guy. If you looked at the tier list of all the guys that were competitors, like Guile was probably the top tier.
Yes.
But if I don't use Guile, it depends on whom. If I'm playing guys like that aren't that good, like I like to use Blanka.
Yes.
I use
Oh,
anybody.
yeah.
Blanka is just vicious.
Yeah, I'm a Blanka lover.
Yeah.
A lover.
But Ryu and Ken are the standards.
Yes.
Yes.
But if you're a Guile player, you could sort of play to that really well.
Right.
Back in the day. So
Yeah.
the boomerang back fist was my go-to.
Ooh.
The slow boomerang, you hit me with the fireball and I back fist you in the face. That was
Yeah.
sort of my go-to move.
Yep.
And I trap you in a corner.
Yes, as a
So,
counter. Look at that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I'm getting all these memories right now.
No,
I was never a huge gamer. I was more like, I saw people I knew that were so good at it. I was more the observer. I would cheer people on. I would basically taunt them.
I'd
Okay.
be at every Max, every like
Beckers.
Beckers.
It's all about
arcades.
Beckers.
Yeah, anywhere I could find players, like I was there. I was like, let's do this, and it was all about competition, right? And you're looking for the best guys to play all the time. I remember I was in a tournament at Canada's Wonderland. They had a little tournament going. It was pretty cool. But it was always just about finding that competition. And where I lost it a little bit is when Street Fighter started going Rainbow Edition and Rainbow Bright Edition. And there was like, all of a sudden you could go through the ceiling multiple different times.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I'm lost here. Like this.
Yeah.
Now the game has gone beyond me.
I mean, if you look at Street Fighter now, because I actually bought that title a couple of months ago for my son.
Street
it's-
Fighter 5.
Yeah, it looks like some sort of anime thing or something. It looks very weird.
I don't play it.
Yeah.
I played Street Fighter 4 a bit.
Yeah.
I think Street Fighter 5 is the newest one out there. It's just next level now. Like like I still follow a little bit. Like I'll watch clips on it. Like in my
Yes.
feed will come up because I'm a gamer. Like I like to things will come up and it's just next level. Like I look at that stuff and I'm like, as much as I want to think I'm a good player, I realize I look at that and I'm like, I couldn't even step on stage and be
Crazy.
humiliated.
So keep it real. Don't go past 4. Yeah, keep it real.
It's funny, the gaming generation right now is on a whole different level. I mean, my son, I actually have to put hard rules with him with Fortnite.
So we have the same thing.
Yeah?
Yeah, my boy. So he's got weekends only.
Okay.
That's when he can play Fortnite. And even at that, it's not like all day. Like, no, you're going outside right now. You're doing your thing. But
Yeah.
I get it because I'll play a little bit with him. I realized it's not Call of Duty because I was a big Call of Duty guy. And I realized if you can't build, you can't play.
Right.
You can survive a little bit.
Right.
But as soon as those one-on-one or like 1v1 battles come out, if you're not building and building your own little castle around yourself, like, you're done.
It's so crazy.
As soon as he gets hit, he's got like a full fortress around him. I'm looking, going, what is going on here? I'm trying to watch him play. I'm like, how'd you do that? Like, there's a full fortress already built. I'm like,
Mike, do you have any idea what we're talking
I
about?
have no idea.
Oh, man, that's crazy.
I know what I've heard Fortnite, and I've just seen all the funny dances everywhere.
So both my kids, that's like, I love it for that because it's introduced kids to, without introducing your kids to dance, it's introduced your kids to dance.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's a part of, when they get up to that, around 12, like my boy right now is 10, like he's getting there right now where he's going to start hitting preteens and stuff. And last I heard somebody saying like he was at a preteen and, they're doing the floss. This is a couple years ago and they're doing those dances at the preteen. So your kids are getting introduced to it early rather than, I remember going to the first preteen and going, oh, the Running Man, looking, going,
What?
I don't know that movie yet. I better learn this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so it's just introducing them to stuff, and it's part of growing up, right? They got all
Yeah,
these
I guess the
dance and school moves.
grade 9 dance it's like a higher skill set now. More people can actually dance now.
Exactly. Crazy.
I had like the 2-step down pat and the lean. I could lean on any wall and stare.
Oh,
but
yeah,
no, man. I
the
just be like,
lean.
nod
The
your
lean.
head and be like, "Yo, that girl there." You nod at her, and if she goes by, it was because it was for the girl behind her.
Yeah.
I didn't really nod at her. I nodded at the girl behind her, and she didn't realize it.
You threw it all out. Did you have one foot up?
Sometimes, yeah, I'd throw the foot up. Like, I tried a lot of different stances, right, to see where my vibe was and check my angles. If there was a mirror around, that was ideal, right? Because you could actually check yourself.
You got
be like,
instant
yeah,
feedback.
I look good. I look
You
good.
got
Okay.
feedback.
Yeah.
Or the right window.
Yeah.
So Street Fighter is your game.
That
Guile.
was my favorite game growing up.
Yeah.
It's funny how Street Fighter became something else with you too, right? I mean,
No, for sure. Like, because the other games that I was big at, Mortal Kombat was obviously big after
Yes.
Street Fighter. Tekken was big.
Mhm.
Those were the 3 games that I played a lot. And it was probably only, it sounds like a long time, but it's probably like a 2-year, 3-year gap where those games were just coming out tons.
Yes.
Because arcades were still around, right?
That's right.
Yes.
You'd hit arcades, and then even though there was consoles back then, like you could practice at home, but you couldn't really play anybody because the online gaming wasn't like it is now. Now you can play anybody constantly with all these games where you're constantly. To me, when you went home and you were playing the computer, and I just felt like it wasn't the same, right? It was going to the arcade and interacting with the guys next to you, even if you didn't like them. It was that competitiveness, and I just still remember guys trying to shove my hands, when they weren't getting their mercy round in the second round, and they're trying to shove my hands off the buttons, and I'm looking there smiling, going,
You're a no mercy guy.
yeah, I would give mercy, but you had to deserve mercy. You know what I mean? You had to earn it. You had to earn it a little bit.
you had to fight your way
You
for it.
You couldn't just start the second round assuming I wasn't going to fight back. If you started the round fighting me, then at the end I'd lay off and be like, okay, it's yours. But these guys that think they're just gonna, hit you for the whole round and get it perfect, I'm like, nah, that's not happening.
Oh, I like it.
Wow.
I gotta play a bit.
Remember that movie, The Wizard?
Yep.
Come on, are you kidding me?
like the Michael Jackson.
Are you
one?
from Earth?
No.
Oh no, that's with.
Michael Jackson, The Wizard, Fred Savage, about the kid. This is when
I actually do remember very, very, very briefly. I have an idea. He played games, right?
the kid played game. Oh my
remember.
goodness! I guess yeah.
I can't remember.
These were those years you were locked at home.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
There was
Anyways.
another one that my son just watched. I watched it with him. I'm gonna get the name of the game wrong, but or the movie wrong. It was a gaming movie that just came out like in the last 2 years.
Okay.
That was I want to say it was In Gamer or something or In Game or.
Okay.
But it was fun. It was a cool little movie, but it's more about virtual reality now, like actually people getting into the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
But,
playing around with that because that's probably around the corner for all of us,
Yeah.
right?
Man.
That's life soon.
Who would have thought that you could actually be a professional gamer? Isn't that pretty amazing?
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
I don't know about amazing because now the problem is you've got all these kids, like our kids, and they're growing up. If that's what they want to be, I'm like, how do you? One, you want to say no, You know what I mean? It's
yes.
like you don't really want to dash anyone's dreams, but at the same time, you're like, you're not going to sit at home and play video games. You know, like
Yeah.
that
Well,
can't happen.
Here's the thing, which you're kind of touching upon. I say this to my son all the time. I'm like, the amount of energy and time and resources that you're putting towards playing games, you could be putting that towards bettering your craft in sports.
You sound like a father.
No,
there.
no, absolutely. But that's the truth, man. That's
Yeah.
absolute truth. Because I mean, that's time. Like it's just that's how I look at things. But I know people that also spend substantial amount of time. I'm talking about adults now, on gaming, and they don't do anything else, right? So that's where it can really hurt you.
Yeah, and for me, it is actually not only do they play the video games, but I don't know about your kids, but then they'll go to YouTube and then they watch other people play the video games.
That's exactly what happens.
And I'm like, man, like,
Yeah.
Really?
why don't you
Yeah.
put that effort into you creating your own content?
Right.
Because that's what this is all about, right?
That's right.
Society is all about having your own content.
Mm-hmm.
So I always show my boy, like, you know, he's got his own Instagram account that I manage for him. But, you know, if you want to do some stick handling drills for hockey or whatever you want to do, I don't care. Like, if you want to put out your own gaming videos, I don't care. Do your thing. But that's where I'm trying to direct them to and saying, listen, instead of watching other people, let's do it yourself. Let's create the content, because that's where, you know, at the end of the day,
Right.
data is your IP, right? That's what you've got.
We're in a really interesting time right now, right? Where, you know, it's not about your job title and getting that secure job now. It's about creating your personal brand. And we hear all these things over and over. You know, imagine, I heard it on the radio just driving in today, that we're in an era where kids, if they want to, can go back and probably see every single day of their life, because it's been archived off of mommy's phone or
Yes.
something. Think about that.
Yeah.
You know, think about how many memories that are just kind of like a memory that you have vague because it's not solidified. I realize that with my kids. My kids kind of know everything. They remember, oh yeah, there was that red car that did this, and then that guy came. And the reason why is because they've seen the video. And, you know, it's just different. Imagine you can, every single day, you can go back
It's nuts.
and see why you missed the wizard.
Yeah.
No, but you know, I saw a meme the other day, and it was making fun of that. And where I really have I'm not gonna say a problem, but where I really feel like we're missing the boat here is when you look at pictures of our grandparents or our parents, there was a story behind almost every picture.
Yeah.
My dad could tell me, oh, this picture here, this is the day before me and my family left for Canada, you know what I mean, leaving England. This is the last time I saw. You see a picture now, it's like, hey, Dad, what's this picture? Oh, this is me with my shirt up at the bar because I thought the lighting was really good.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
Mom,
yeah.
what's this picture here? This is picture 1 of 30 that I took before I went to the bar because I thought the dress really made me look nice. Like,
Right.
Yeah, I know.
so
you're
there's no
right.
there's so many pictures of us out there right now, and there's not a story behind very many of them. And I feel like that's where the gap sort of is. Like, well, it's one thing to put your brand out there and do this and do that, but to me, like, again, it's because I'm old now, but I've decided, like, I lessen my presence on social media. I still have it there. Like, I still put stuff out there, but I don't feel the necessity to put out a picture a day or 2 pictures
Yes.
a day
Yes.
and just flood everybody's news feeds with, here's a picture of me, here's a picture of me, because that's reality. That's what this is.
Right.
You know, so many people they're not putting pictures out to tell stories or to say my kid's doing this. It's all about me.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where we're missing the boat here. It's all about your personal brand, but your personal brand just isn't you. Your
I
personal
like
brand
that.
is you and your family and your social surroundings, right? It's not just about, here's a picture of me in the mirror, in this bathroom, in this bedroom,
Yeah,
and then
this
there's other-
hotel.
Yeah, and then
this
there's other
gym.
people. I'm like, who's taking the effing picture right now? Do you know what I mean? Where I see there's pictures all the time, and I'm like, do you have someone just follow you around taking pictures?
Yeah,
I'm like, what
yeah,
is that?
yeah.
Who's
you're
your
right.
gopher right now?
It's
Yeah.
really,
There's
it's messed up.
I was just thinking about that. There's a guy that shows up on my feed. It's a guy that I know, and I guess he has like endless professional photos of him doing random things. So I guess he has someone. He's got a cousin. He's got a cousin or something that's at home picking his nose, and he's dragging him out there. But I mean, I like what you're saying though about the story. There's not. It's true. Every photo, especially those photo albums where you would open them up and you'd find out something about. It was a real timestamp.
That's what I felt. I felt like when I looked through pictures, like it was here's something that happened right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at the time, they might not realize it, but when they go back and tell us a story about it, it meant something, right? So
Yeah, it's really cool.
I look now at, because we have so much content and so many pictures. Even myself, I've got so many pictures of my family and friends and my kids that hardly any do you actually put up, or do I put up on social media, because they're more for me to check out later in life, I guess. You know what I mean? Like they're all
Yeah.
stored in the cloud
Yes,
or
yes,
wherever.
yes.
But some people just decide to post almost. Well, I'm hoping they're posting almost every picture, because if they got more than they're posting, I go, You got terabytes of pictures of yourself. That's
No,
pretty bad.
I know. I take a lot of photos of my kids constantly. I just find myself, they do something
Yeah.
and I take a photo as a
No,
habit.
But that's different. That's of your kids. That's stuff you're doing. That's not just about you. I have more of a problem when it's just selfie.
Yeah.
Selfie.
Yes.
Selfie.
Yeah.
And again, if it's a selfie at an event, well, okay, I can deal with that.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
bigger
It's just-
picture. Yeah.
I just feel like there's just a lot of selfies out there. It's like, Frisky Friday. I'm in my, or
Yeah. That's Jerry as well. Jerry's very into selfies.
I think I've got maybe 2.
Two? Yeah, I think you should maybe do a workshop on the. Jerry's an amazing photographer.
Yeah.
You could probably up the selfie game. You'd probably make a killing. That's your
I
calling.
don't want pictures of me.
No, you could make. Listen,
Oh.
you could make millions teaching people how to take proper selfies.
Oh, probably.
Sean, let me ask you a question. When you were growing up, and obviously, like you kind of have a life goal, man, that a lot of people probably dream of, and that's actually getting into the UFC and being a fighter for 5 years, I guess, right?
4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. I mean, what were you doing differently that other people were not, that were trying to do the same thing? Because obviously, we talk about this all the time. Just what it takes to get there, what it takes to make it, kind of thing.
To me,
What's your story?
There's only 2 real things that define you in life. To me, it's one is the belief. You have to believe in what you can do. Like, some people pretend, but you have to truly believe in whatever you want to do. Like, you have to be passionate about it. Anything in my life, anything that I've done, half-cocked, I'm not getting there, right? It's all or nothing. That's my personality. Whatever I do, I go all in or I don't go in. And it's just the way my personality works. So to me, it's having that belief that, in my head, I'm like, no, I'm good enough to be there. Like, anybody could tell me wrong. And this is, my parents have joked as a kid. So my youngest son has got a similar attitude to me, and he's 4. We just turned 5.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks he's the best on every team he does. Like, he'll come off a hockey game. Dad, I'm the best. I scored 20 goals. No, you scored 3. No, I scored 20. Dad, I'm the best. But my mom used to tell me, she's like, Sean, you thought you were the best at everything you did, whether you were or you weren't. But in your head, you were the best. So that confidence in that ability to realize that you want to be there, that's number one. But the most important thing, so you need that, but sacrifice. People don't truly want to sacrifice to get what they want. They think if they just, toe the line and do what they think is needed, but there's no true sacrifice there. And
Yes.
so one prime example I have is, so when I made the UFC, and again, there's millions of different examples done differently than I did it, but I worked a full-time job. I worked at Dell Computers. I worked a 9-to-5 job. I trained in the morning. I trained at lunch, and I trained after work.
Wow.
And I didn't ask for favors from people.
Wow.
Like, as far as, I see people now that don't have a job. They train a lot, and then they go on things. And again, I'm not knocking anybody right now, but they go on things like GoFundMe and ask people to sort of pay. It is what it is. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what they're doing, but I feel like by doing that, you're not truly sacrificing.
Yeah.
For me, I'm working a full-time job, so I appreciate it more. And when I did go to train, I think I got more out of it because I realized that my time was of value to me, right? So
Yes.
when I'd go in the morning, I know that, okay, well, I got to be at work by 8:30. So when I get to the gym at 7, I go hard, and then at lunch, I've got an hour lunch or an hour and a half maybe. That time was valuable. I used it. So because I had to sacrifice, because again, I knew that, I'm going back to work every day and doing this and doing that.
Right.
And then the other thing for me was when I made the UFC, I actually already started a family. I was married and I had a young boy. So me and my wife had a long conversation.
How old were you, Sean, when you started?
Was it 32
No,
when you started?
When I started fighting, I was 21, I think. My first fight was 21.
Okay, yeah.
My first fight in the UFC, I think, was 33.
Okay.
33, yeah.
But I had been fighting professional since, I'll call myself a kid at 21. But I was doing it I call it like men's league sports. Like, I didn't
Yes.
care. I just would go to a fight. It was, to me, they were pro fights, but to me, I didn't care. I just was getting a paycheck. I was doing
Right.
something I thought was really cool. I was on
Yep.
pay-per-view. Back when I was younger, I thought the girls liked me more because of it. It was
Right.
just, that's how life works, right? Men,
Right.
we do things so girls like us, and I thought that was working, so I'm like, here we go. But then, later in life, when I started to come, because I retired for a while, I got married, bought a house, I really concentrated on work and stuff. And then what happened is I kept getting brought back. I think first people were like, why don't you come back and help us train these guys? There's a lot of young guys that want to do well, and I'd come back. And then again, I'm all in or not in. So as they came back to just help other people out, it actually just brought me back in, and I started going every day. And then when me and my wife had the talk, it was probably about a year and a half before I made the UFC, but it was just one of those things where she said, listen, if you're going to take time away from the family, because that's what you're doing, right? I'm not home right after work anymore. I'm going to the gym till 8 or 9 o'clock, coming home, just getting my boy to bed. So it was like, if you're going to do this, we have to do it. What are we doing? Like, what's our goal here?
Right.
And then we said, like I said, we talked and I said, okay, I want to be in the UFC. And what had happened for me is, it's weird, but I felt like an underachiever at work. Not because of my work. I did well at work, but because growing up, I was sort of the guy who, you know, people talked about going to the Olympics for wrestling. I was a wrestler my whole life. But after university ended, I retired from wrestling because I went back home. I started working a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, as time went on, it's like I didn't have, you know, identified myself. And this is something I'll talk about later. Like, I identified as an athlete. That's how I identified myself.
Yeah.
Now, you know, I'm 4 years out of my sport. I'm sort of fighting once in a while for fun. But my sense of identity to me is being lost.
Right.
To anybody else, it's probably no big deal. But to me, I'm sort of like, why did I not excel? Why did I not prove myself to be that elite athlete that people thought I was?
Okay.
And then me and my wife said, she's like, what do you want? I go, I want to be in the UFC. And I was sort of one of the big names in Canada before George stepped on the stage, before Loiseau. Those guys were all in the UFC, and I'm sitting there going, well, I should have been in the UFC. You know what I mean? Because I was where they were at a time before them.
Right.
And then one of the guys that I had beaten twice, Steve Vigneault, got a shot in the UFC. So I'm just looking at all this going, I don't want to have any more regrets. And, you know, we all have regrets. And my regrets aren't major regrets. It's just like, should have I done this or done that? You know, my life is good. Like, I love my life, but I didn't want to. It was more about me talking to my kids later in life.
Yes.
Because really, my biggest goal in life is to be a great father. That great father, great husband, that's my goals.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
But I want to be a role model for my son. And me, where I was in my fighting career at that time, wasn't a role model. That was just dad just went out there and lost some fights, won some fights. And when we said I want to be in the UFC because I want to be able to tell him that I was a professional athlete. And not just him, I wanted to do it for myself. But
sure.
I mean, it was just one of those things where I've got a goal. I'm like, why am I not going for it? So I really buckled down at that point and said, let's do this. And my wife was fully supportive. She's like, yeah, then let's go. Go hard.
Wow,
Man. And then an opportunity came to me. I was fighting a guy named Fabio Holanda. And I got a call from my buddy David Wazo out of Montreal. Crow used to fight in the UFC. And he's like, hey, George St. Pierre wants to talk to you. And
Oh, wow.
so George got on the phone with me, and he was fighting for, I believe it was I might get the time frames wrong. I think he was fighting for Dan Hardy at the time, preparing for Dan Hardy.
Yep.
And he goes, Sean, like, he had because Holanda was out of the same camp, or not the same camp, he was out of Montreal in a different camp. And I'm not going to say there's bad blood, there's no bad blood, but he wanted to help me train for that fight for Holanda, because he wanted me to win that fight.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, he was training, so he's like, Sean, why don't you come down and stay with me? And we'll train together for this fight. And I went down there, and it was a good eye-opener because I really never had a camp. I was sort of just on my own training and fighting. There wasn't a solidified gym yet.
Did you know GSP before that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I knew George when he started. I actually was a judge on George's first amateur fight.
Okay.
So going back probably like 20 years type thing.
Yeah.
But we were friends, but not friends, right? His English wasn't as good back then.
Yeah.
I was close to David, though, who was good friends with George.
Yeah.
But what happened is through that training camp, George, you know, said a lot of positive things to me. And I just remember one day he just said, Sean, you know, you're as good, if not better, than a lot of the guys that have already fought in the UFC. If you want to, you know, do this, you should really go for it.
Wow, that's amazing.
And it was just one of those moments where I just sat there and I'm like, he didn't have to say anything. Maybe he was just saying it for me, but he didn't have to say anything.
Yeah.
So when I went home, I just told my wife, I'm like, we're doing it.
Wow.
And
Wow.
then I
Wow.
won that
Defining
fight.
moment.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where it just told me it made me understand that the belief I had in myself, that other people saw it too. Because it's
Yeah.
one
Yes.
thing when you know, we all believe in ourselves, but when you get confirmation from other people.
Yeah, when it's validated by someone like GSP in his camp, I mean, that's
and someone
pretty...
not my wife, you know what I mean? My wife is my biggest supporter,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's and my buddies, you know, they all
Yeah.
want, but it's like when, you know, outside sort of says, yeah, you can do this, and it was just like, yeah, let's go do this, and you know, that was it.
Wow.
And it's funny because I have a lot of moments in my life that steered directions. You know what I mean? Like my father's got a lot. My mom was just sort of my rock growing up. But a lot of things like weird things. Like I never, like I don't drink, and I never really drank, never tried cigarettes, never tried drugs. I was one of those, but my crew of friends weren't the same. Like, but it was just, I just remember like, people are like, why didn't you do that? And I just remember my dad having a talk with me when I was a young kid and basically saying that, you know, we're going to support you in your sports. We'll find a way to do it. But the second you stop trying to be the best athlete you can be is the day that we stop paying. Right? He goes,
I love that.
Like my dad,
remember
drank,
that one.
Oh, I say it all the time.
Yeah, my dad drank alcohol. He did all this stuff, and it was funny. So it wasn't like he was saying this is wrong, this is bad, this is wrong. No, it's fine. But in my eyes, my dad was not trying to be an elite athlete. He goes, I was.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he goes, the second you're not trying to be that elite athlete is the day that, you know, we're not going to fund everything you do. And my parents spent a lot of money on me, you know, doing all these rep sports and things that a lot of my friends didn't have the opportunity to do. So I understood, even at a young age, that I was, you know, given an opportunity that a lot of people couldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
So it just made me think, I'm like, well, I'm not going to risk anything. And I don't think I thought of it like that back then. But when I look back, it was probably one of the defining moments where I'm like, I don't need any of that. And, you know, I'd go to parties, and it got to the point where even friends of mine and stuff, they wouldn't even offer. They you know what I mean? Like when they
knew,
things,
or they're trying to keep it away from you. Because like, no, you're training, man. He's training. Get out of his face.
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
And the truth is, even fighting for me, the reason everybody looks to define themselves, and this is where I look back and I go, like, I can say I'm different now, but you know, we're all young, insecure people, right? Like, not many of us are truly, you know, confident people off the hop. And I remember at a young age where it's like, I was insecure, like, you know, with everything. And what I could do well, because I had wrestled from a young age, is I could compete with people, like in fight, wrestle, whatever it was. So when it came to sports and athletics, my confidence would go through the roof. So it just sort of, like, the whole fighting thing is like, when the UFC came out, it was just those wrestling matches in the basement with your buddies, like trying to tap each other out, that I would just dominate everybody. And I got to be known as sort of the fighter, even though there was really no fights yet. Yeah. But it just defined me a little bit. And I let it define me because it gave me a sense of identity. Which, again, I don't know, like, I look back and I go, I'm much more than that. Whoops.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the process. If you're going to become pro in anything, you beat up on your friends first.
Yeah.
Right?
But it was just one of those things where, you know, like I said before, when I felt like an underachiever, it's because I defined myself as one thing. You know, I was defining myself as a wrestler, as a competitor. Now that, you know, I can look back now at everything that I've done, and I'm appreciative of everything I was given and I've done, but I can say that I can't define myself as a fighter. Like, I furthest won't do it. I love my job now. Like, I do, you know, IT consulting for a company, and I work with things, and I realize that I'm much more than I thought I was, right?
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, all of us just want to raise a family. Like, that's not all of us, but I think that's
Yeah.
where I look at life and think to myself, I want to provide a good living for my kids. Like, I get so much out of taking my kids to hockey tournaments and hockey games and lacrosse and this and that.
Right.
And really, that's where, you know, where life is. You know what I mean? Spending time with my wife and my parents and her parents and my family. That's what it's all about. Everything else was just the journey, right? Because that's all we're on. We're just on a long journey here, and we're trying to get as many stories out. Because that's the best part about fighting the UFC that I can say when people are like, oh, what's your? It's the stories that are created. Right. It's what the opportunities that were given to me, like sitting here and talking about it, that a lot of people don't get to see.
Yes.
Right. That's the cool stuff. Like, I threw the first pitch out at a Blue Jay game.
Oh,
I grew up
nice.
watching the Blue Jays. You know what I mean? So
man.
From that experience, I met Kelly Gruber, became friends with Kelly Gruber. So there's all these things that have happened.
The best third baseman in Jays history. Yeah.
So it's just, you know, life happens, and along the journey, you have an opportunity to meet interesting people, to do awesome things. And, you know, that's what you guys are doing with your thing, right? It's getting to introduce yourself to all these different people and create stories and things to pass on to our kids and life lessons, right? That's
what seems the most, you know, information age. As we're learning more information, we're learning, think about in media right now. We're hearing a lot of bad stories about people that have been held up high in society, whether they're politicians or actors or musicians. And as we learn more about people, we realize, okay, there's more to them. On the flip side, the good part of that is you realize that someone is more than just being an athlete, right? That never existed before.
For sure.
To think that, like, these athletes that were, man, they were larger than life on screen. These, like, the fact that they would, like, even, I couldn't even picture, like, Michael Jordan having yogurt. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't eat.
Right.
You know, he just
Right.
yeah. You know what I'm saying?
No,
He
100%.
drinks Gatorade,
Yeah.
but he doesn't eat.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, he doesn't ever have constipation or we don't definitively say these things, but the image is just so perfect. It's so ideal. And I think all of us at some point we realize, okay, look, we're more than just who we were. You know, for myself, I played basketball. Everyone that knows me knows I'm a basketball player. I'm a baller. I played college ball. I haven't played in 10 years. Tore my rotator cuff. I've not played 10 years this May. Okay. And for me, I would meet people all the time. Okay, you hooping. No. I got a lot of buddies who played pro, and that was really tough for them when they came back and they didn't have their team to train with. They had to find something else that what do they live for now?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I
because
think
coach
that's-
told them everything.
And that's about defining yourself, right?
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I've realized that, you know, a lot of people. So when I left the UFC, I was on a 3-fight win streak, and people are taken back by that.
Yeah.
And it's because I took myself as more than a fighter at that point.
Amazing.
You know what I mean, it's time to leave. Like, it wasn't about.
You don't leave when you've lost. That's pretty
No,
cool.
I don't want to be forced out of a situation.
Yeah.
Right.
So to me, it's like, okay, I've got a 3-fight win streak. I look at my, you know, the reasons to stay, the reasons to leave. And again, you'll never get back. Some of the things you get out of competing at that level, you can't get back.
Mm-hmm.
But then you balance that with the time spent that I'm going to get spent with my family. And I'm like, you know, my sport is not forgiving. You know what I mean? Like, you stay in the sport too long.
Yes.
And I feel
Yeah.
bad because the difference between, I believe, again, you know, people say, like, maybe I wasn't, you know, I'm not the world champion. I go, that's fine. You know what I mean? I don't define myself by that. But I also look at the situation where people have held on way too long. Like, I feel bad about, like, a Chuck Liddell. Again, and I'm hoping he's great and dandy, but I know his last 3 or 4 fights, he's been knocked out. And I feel like he has trouble defining himself. Again, I'm talking for Chuck Liddell. I don't know him personally.
Yep.
But the reason why he came back is because he still defines himself as a fighter.
Yeah.
So his status, his everything is being Chuck Liddell, the UFC champion. Because what other reason would he have to come back at 40 or however old he was to fight Tito again? I'm like, it's. I know there's money involved there, but it's because he's still internally defines himself as being that world champion who wants to conquer the world.
Yeah. And just leading with that foot versus finding another path or another purpose.
Just move on, and that's. I had other options. A lot of these guys don't, and I feel bad about that because you think about this. Your whole life, if you've dedicated to your craft, okay, so you've now defined yourself as a fighter. You're in the UFC. Let's say you're 6-6 or whatever it is. Where do you go from here? Let's say the UFC, you lost your last 2 or 3 fights and you get cut. All you're thinking is, how do I get back there? You don't have a fallback plan, a lot of these guys, because all they've done is define themselves as this. This is all they've done their whole life.
Yeah.
And the truth is, most of the time, they don't have people behind them telling them they can do other things.
Right.
For me, I got a little lucky because I had my university education. I had an IT job before. So I already had my eyes open about what I want to do. Like, okay, I can go back to this now. The other thing I looked at is, okay, time away from, so I'm doing IT. So the time away, the longer I'm away, the weaker my resume gets.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Now, I'm a firm believer I'll be successful in anything I do. You know what I mean? I'm going to grind. I'm going to hustle. I'll do whatever it takes. But the longer you're away from something, your skill set weakens, right?
Yeah.
Now, other parts of me, got stronger because my drive became bigger to come back now. Because now that I stepped away, when I was the end of my years doing IT at Dell, my focus was really trying to make the UFC. So I wasn't on, my mind was somewhere else. I was still doing my job, but my mind was somewhere else. So now that dream has sort of been fulfilled and I'm out, I'm sort of back focused on, okay, how do I create, something new here? So I went to, another company. Now I'm at Technicore, and, I'm looking at, okay, how do I build my future, my family's future? So there's a lot of focus there right now.
Yeah.
Saying, how do I, right now for me, it's about networking and understanding, who could use my services, because, I'm building a book and who can use my services. So I'm going out there, but again, my drive and my hustle is back, but it was outside of fighting, is where I was saying. It's like a lot of people don't have an option to go back and to figure out something, right? They've done this their whole life, and that's why they stick around too long.
It's great that, you had, you made your mark in the working world, made a decision with wanting no regrets, jumped in. I think, I applaud you. That's incredible that you had this full-time job. You're training before work, at lunch, after work. That's what it takes. Going back to Constantine's question, belief. There's no way you're gonna make that commitment if you don't believe.
100%.
There's no way unless someone's paying you.
Yeah.
Okay?
And that's the thing too. It's like, that's why I was talking about the GoFundMe earlier. I didn't have any. I had to have that full-time job because I still had a mortgage to pay.
Yes.
I had a family to support. So it's not like I could ask somebody else to do that for me. I wasn't a 19-year-old kid, and my parents had already helped me out. You know what I mean? I'd gone to university and this and that, and you know what I mean? I finished school and I didn't have debt, and so I had gotten support and done things in the past where I'm like, I'm not going to go back to my parents and be like, hey, I want to chase this legacy, this dream, and not work.
It's amazing that when you look back, you don't want it to be easy. If the journey was easy and things kind of fell together really quick, yeah, maybe in that moment you benefited. But there's something about being able to look back and realize, man, when I was training like that, it really built something in me. I'm capable of way more than I thought, or it's whatever I pour myself into, I will get something out.
100%. I feel like that's the story we tell, right?
Yeah.
Because that's all this is about. It's not about wins, losses, successes, failures. Like, again, we're going to get them all.
We'll gravitate to those moments, but
it's about the story, about getting there. Like, what happened? How did you get here?
Yeah.
Where were your pitfalls? Because that's where we learn, right? Like McGregor said it, and again, we've all said it before, but you win or you learn, right?
Ooh,
and that's it. You win and you learn. There's no losing.
That's so good.
A loss is just something you're not going to learn from.
Right.
So you either
It's not a
win
factor.
or you learn.
Now, speaking about belief, I've seen some of those early videos of Conor McGregor, and as a young buck, this guy believed. He believed.
100%.
I think it was like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
He was lit. He has a boat or something it's 181. Did you hear about that?
No.
That's how much. The name of his boat is like number 181, something like that, and that's how much money he made every 2 weeks from welfare in Ireland.
Wow.
6 years ago.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
he's got early videos of him saying he's going to be in the UFC. He's going to be UFC champ. This is well before the UFC, and 100%. He believed.
I think 6 years ago he was making $181 every 2 weeks. Okay, and he made $100+ million on a fight last year.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah,
That's a huge factor, man. I mean, it starts from there. It really does start from there. Let me ask you this. I mean, reading about you a bit, you also, where did the Toronto Police thing happen in your career?
So really, it's a weird one. It's really a non-issue. So what happened is, at one point, so I had a lot of buddies who worked in the force, and the one thing working at Dell that, and just, I think it's just in sales in general, in everything, is the one thing I missed because I was out of sports was the camaraderie.
Right.
yeah.
So that's the one thing sports really generated for me, was that camaraderie, where it's like, even though wrestling was an individual sport, like I played hockey, baseball, I played everything growing up.
Yeah.
But I miss that camaraderie with my boys.
Yeah.
It's just, like the after training, hanging out, doing this, and just that bond where you've got my back, I got your back.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
At the time, IT was going through, like, that was, right around the recession, IT. And again, I thought policing, I think it's a great job. It's needed. And I was like, okay, like, I should think about doing this. And my buddies are like, Sean, you'd be great here. Like, you know what I mean? You've got everything that it takes. I applied, I got in. And then what happened is, during my first UFC fight, basically what happened is there was a hiring freeze on, and then I got hired.
Yes.
So eventually they say, yeah, you're going to start in, let's say, 2 months. And then the UFC offer came.
Yes.
And it was just a one fight offer, right?
Huh.
And it was like 3 days or 4 days before I was supposed to start at the police college. So I hadn't really started as a police officer yet.
Yeah.
So I'm like, perfect. I'm going to do 2 things that I've dreamed about doing. I'm like, it's going to be awesome. And then because the UFC came up there, then the police were like, well, what are you going to do here? And then I think there's a lot of miscommunication.
Right.
And because
But you had to choose.
Yeah, I had to choose. And at that point, I didn't want resentment. So I said, I'm going to choose. Because I could always go back. In my head, I'm like, I can go back in a year, 2 years, and reapply to be a police officer. Yeah. But I can't go back. Again, remember, I made the UFC at I think I might have been 34 when I officially made it.
Yeah.
People don't normally do that, right? You don't normally make it as a professional athlete at 34 years old.
Right.
So to me, I'm like, I don't have a second chance at this. I've got to do this.
Yes.
And so the UFC is what I did, and no regrets. And
That's
so good.
Sure.
I mean, my uncle, I work in the film industry as well, and when I was jumping in, my uncle said to me, he's like, look, remember, every story is about 2 things. Do I follow my head or do I follow my heart? And it was like the best advice. He said, and I mean, at some point there's going to be a part in the road. There's like the logical, this I get a pension, this I get this, and like.
That's what
and
everybody said. That's what and again, it's not an easy. Some people are like, oh, it's such an easy decision. I go, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Because I got a family.
Right.
There's a job a lifetime job,
Yes.
pension, everything, and then here's a dream, and I'm like, to me the decision was easy. When I say that, like it wasn't easy, but it was, because I'd already said this is what I'm doing. Like, this was my commitment. I'm making the UFC. So at that point, I'm like, you know, if I have to make a choice, this is where I'm going to be for now.
I had a definitive moment. You know, you see your kids. What's amazing about kids is they help you to see outside of yourself.
It's true, man.
To be selfless, really, you know. And I remember talking with my daughters. They're young, and I was trying to encourage them with their dreams. Like, what do they want to have happen? And, you know, you just ask these open-ended questions, and it's amazing what you hear. I'm going to be a firefighter ballerina. Okay, like they come up with these things. You never know. These hybrid jobs. And I had a moment once, true story. I'm literally drinking coffee in the morning, and it just hit me. The way that I help them live their dreams is if they see me live my dream. It was like that simple. It had nothing to do with what I said. Okay, that I could talk to them and try to encourage them. And it's true. Some people come from really delinquent families, you know, respectfully saying, and they have a way of they have this incredible belief they are going to get where they've got to go. But for the large majority, our parents, you know, whether they encourage you or not, they're a huge variable. And I was thinking, okay, if I'm going to help my kids, what could I do? And it just hit me like smack in the face. It was like so clear. Don't talk to them about living their dreams. Live your dream. Let them see that, oh, Dad made this decision, and he had this learning experience. I'm not going to say loss anymore. That's so cool. I've got a buddy that he says 2 L's make a W. He's a good buddy of ours.
That's true.
Yeah, that's Daryl who was saying on the show. Yeah, 2 L's make a W, you know. But I remember thinking that kind of changed my whole thinking on it, that if I go after things, good and bad happen, it's all part of the journey. You know, if a door slams in my face and I get back up, there's something to learn and take away from that. And if I can involve my kids, that they're not just seeing Daddy tired, but I can kind of tell them, you know, the highs and lows, that's what's going to prepare them in order to go after whatever they want to go after, you know?
Yeah, there's just that standard saying of, you know, your kids they see what you do. They hear what you say, but they see what you do, right?
Yeah.
So that at the end of the day is what's going to be followed. They're going to follow you. They're going to follow in your footsteps, not your words. They don't follow your words, they follow your footsteps.
Yeah.
So a lot of people that want to, you know, talk, but don't walk the walk, it's tough as a child. And even I look at that as my experience as coaches and as mentors, right? I follow, it was much easier for me to follow people that had already gone through the journey. But someone that, you know, I look at coaching, and again, a lot of great coaches come from different aspects, but for me, I had a difficult time of pushing me to my limits when I'm training. It was easier for me to listen to when I realized the person in front of me who's yelling at me and coaching me has already done it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't feel like they've ever been through this, it's harder. I'm not saying I'm not going to do it, but it's more difficult to understand, because it's less likely that I'm going to give up and end early because I don't feel like they understand where I'm at right now. But the same person who's been through it is pushing me the same way. In my head, I'm like, no, he's done this. He knows that I can do it. And I'm not saying it's the right thing, but it's just what it is, right?
Player coaches, because they've played. You know?
Yeah, and you don't have to be, like, as a coach, you don't have to have been the elite of the elite.
Yeah.
I just need to know that you've been through these same paces that I'm going through.
Yeah.
Because that really makes me understand that, okay, he's pushing me, but he was pushed here before too, right? So he understands he can push me past certain limits. When certain people, like I used to laugh a little bit when I'd see trainers, and again, but when I see a trainer that's, you know, completely out of shape, I would just have a hard time understanding how they would push me to be in shape. And again, I'm not talking about anyone's picture. I just mean I look at myself and I'm like,
it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's like a businessman as a mentor. He's going to mentor you into making millions and billions, and he's bankrupt.
Want to see, want to see that he's been successful.
But he knows the principles of business. Yeah. No, I know. I'd say this, you know, I think about it all the time, how to be an amazing parent. You know, what could I do? How do I impart in them? And I realize it's not trying to be perfect. I love what you said. That, you know, there's something about telling your kids that you've been through where they've been. Okay, so I tell my kids, yeah, I've been in this tough place in school. I know what it's like to do this, or to feel rejected like this, or to be ridiculed by your teacher in front of the class. And like, if you can like talk to your kids about these things, then it's like, what other place in the world should they feel safe to be totally vulnerable and honest? They should be at home, you know, where they can tell you like, I don't feel adequate,
Right.
or I don't think I'm good enough. I mean, I want my kids to say that to me versus someone else on the street.
No, and it's hard because I don't think we acknowledge as adults sometimes the insecurities that we had as kids. We want to tend and we sway to the times that we were confident.
Yeah,
Like
all the moments, like
yeah,
Ted
like-
Bundy when we threw 3 touchdowns in one game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's funny because, you know, it's easy, and I can very easily do the same thing. Like I have, you know, throughout my childhood, like the fond memories where I did this, I did that, but I also remember the times like now when you step back and think about it, because you don't want to think about them as much, my failures, right? I can think
Yeah.
about my failures just as much as my victories, right? So,
Yeah.
but the stories we tell are generally around our victories, right?
Yeah.
We don't often go to our failures.
Right.
Yeah. I go to them pretty often now. I wasn't like that before, but I've learned to love it, that it's part of it. And I actually feel that, you know, the dung, the manure of my life could be fertilizer to someone else. I really look at that like that. I work with youth. I worked with youth in Toronto, like in different government housing neighborhoods. And I realized when I open up my life to people, all the stuff that I've been through some really funny scenarios, and it can give to somebody. My daughter, who's 12 right now, she was asking my wife just the other day. She's like, "Did Dad do drugs? Did Dad drink a lot? Was he, you know, Dad talks about fighting. Was he really? Did he ever really hurt people? Did he get arrested? Like." So my wife said to me, she's like, "You got to talk to your daughter." Oh. Yeah. So I got to figure out, you know, but I think I don't get nervous by those questions. That's the fact that my daughter's asking is an amazing opportunity for me. There's a reason why she's asking. She's trying to make sense of the world, and she's trying to make sense of it through me, you know, because I've been there before her, you know.
No, it makes sense, and it's funny because some of those questions, they do make you question things, right? Where it's like, you know, as much as we're all good people, but we've all done what I call bad things. And when I say bad things, you know, there's a degree in that, but I mean, we've all made mistakes.
Yeah.
Right.
And, you know, I always call it the misspent, you know, youth, right? Like, there's situations I've been in that I'm not, you know, I'm not going to say I'm proud of. I'm also not ashamed of, because they're just situations that I was in.
Yes.
And I reacted the best I could at that time. You know what I mean? Looking back, I would react differently in many of those situations. But, you know, as a 15, a 16, a 17-year-old kid, you did what you thought you needed to do.
Right.
And I look back and I'm like, okay, well, you know, that I could have handled differently. But that's, again, me, a 40-year-old looking back going, yeah, I think I should have done this. But I can also say, this is how I did it to my kids. This is what the mistakes I made. And here's why I can tell you now why I think it was a mistake. Because this could have happened. And especially, you know, day and ages have changed.
Right.
You know, we talk about like little things where, you know, I'm a fighter, so we'll talk about fighting. Like, if I got in a fight at 16 or 18 years old back then, ramifications, you know, they could have been bad, but there was a less likelihood they would be versus today. Today, when you see these things, like I grew up in Pickering, and unfortunately, there was someone who was just shot in Pickering 2 days ago.
Yes.
Right by the Rockport neighborhood where I used to hang out and live by the mall. So that wasn't as common when I was 16, 17 years old. It happened once in a while, but it wasn't as common. But I see it now, and I don't know if it's because of the media, we just see it more.
Or we
if
hear
it's
about
just-
it. We hear about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit of both. I think it happens more often, and we hear about it more often. But it's a scary situation when you're a parent now of 2 young kids, and you're like, it's almost like you want to. One part of you doesn't want to put them in a bubble at all. You just want to roughen them up, do this, and then another part of me just wants to rough them up at home, but keep them in a bubble everywhere else.
Let me ask you a question.
Kids.
Your kids, if they wanted to go down the same path as you regarding the UFC, right? How would you feel?
I'd be conflicted. I'll never say no.
Okay.
With that being said, I would not guide it. Like I would, you know what I mean? If my sons come to me and say, "Dad, we want to learn to fight," perfect. Let's do it for all the right reasons.
Right.
Saying I want to fight in the UFC isn't a dream to me. Being like, I didn't grow up training to be in the UFC. I grew up training to be in the Olympics.
Right.
Yes, as a wrestler.
As a wrestler. So, and it just sort of geared into this. So to me, just trying to be a pro fighter, I don't know if I would say let's support that. let's say in BJJ he's trained to go to the World Championships. Like, I would support all those things together, and if all those things led to a fighting career, I could probably get on board with that eventually.
Okay.
But he would really need to want to excel in the amateur side of the sport before.
Yeah, and represent your country nationally.
Yeah,
and
doing
kind of all
things
those
like
things.
that. And,
Yeah.
and really, because to me,
I think that's really key, because
It's
it's not just
sport.
about getting that purse. It's not about just
No.
getting that prize money.
no, it's a
Yeah.
sport, right? It's a sport first. Learn these sports, and these sports combined as mixed martial arts, no problem. We can get on board with that. But with that being said, I still, I'd have a hard time doing it. I want my kids to have their own identity.
Yes.
I don't want them to be looked at as, that's Pierson's son. That's like, I want Logan and Hunter to be Logan and Hunter. That's
Yeah.
my
I
two
love
kids.
those. I love
Yeah,
those
those are
names.
cool names. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
guys go spread your wings,
Yeah.
do what you want to do and be victorious. Like, just win life. You know what I mean? I always say just win life.
Yeah, I
Right.
like that.
That's
So
amazing.
if they want to do it, like, I'll be there. And that's why I've also not pushed it at a young age, because to me, they'll always find it.
Okay.
They both kids know what I do. Like, Hunter's 5. He'll say dad's UFC fighter. He doesn't exactly know what it means yet.
Yeah.
My older boy, like, I'd go to class and everybody come on, hi Sean, hi Mr. Pierson, hi Mr. Pierson. We just watched your video, and he's showing videos of me
Yeah.
finding them on YouTube and showing
How
his
old is he?
classmates. He's 10.
Okay, yeah.
So
No one's messing with him at school.
no, like, yeah. So he's fully aware, and I wasn't even sure. This is going back a few years.
Hi, Mr. Pierson. I shared my chips with
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it, right? It was just one of those things where I knew
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much he knew.
Okay.
Like, he knew where I worked, UFC,
Yeah.
but eventually he clued in, and the internet of ages,
yes,
here
he's
you
got-
go.
It's at his fingertips.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's cool.
Wow, man. Do you still? I mean, you said you threw your age at 40. Is you 40 right now?
43.
43.
Yeah.
Do you still stay in shape? Do you still
Still
is that
stay in
a-
shape. I still train. I don't do martial arts. And again, this all goes back to all in or not in. I would like to train martial arts more. It's just finding the time. I'm right now a professional chauffeur for my kids,
Okay.
making sure he gets to all his games and practices.
Yeah.
I do train in the mornings.
Right.
But again, it's just to try and look pretty for my wife, because she's hotter than me, so I can't.
You
get
gotta
her to-
keep
yeah,
up.
I got to keep up. or she's
What's your
gonna-
training schedule like? Like, what do you abide by? Like, how do you approach it? Your philosophy?
3 days a week. If I can get in more, that's great. But I try to make sure 3 days a week. I still play hockey twice a week right now.
Nice.
In the summer, I'll play some ball. And when I say ball, I mean baseball.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I'm not strict with anything. I just when I'm going on vacation, I'll get strict. Just
Yes.
so I don't look bad in front of my wife, so she still thinks that I'm the man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on a normal basis, she knows I'm not.
What are some things I want to ask you? I mean, you multi-dimensional. You've done a number of things. You know,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
super cool. Like, when you say the word IT, it makes me anxious. That's a world. My goodness, like, I use these computers and technology, but we're never friends. We're never on good terms. I make a joke that if I walk in a room, the computers they don't work as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have so much respect for someone like you that can, load drivers and do all those crazy things, or just
To be
that
honest
know
with
that
you,
world.
Yeah, to me, I'm not even hands-on is not me. Although from a small level, no problem. But for me, it's about understanding how IT can help your business, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's going into businesses and helping them understand, because right now, like, it's a digital transformation happening right now. Just the way the world changes, like the amount of data that companies have and people have right now is
Crazy.
is growing astronomically.
Yeah.
So it's understanding how to utilize that data, how to get the most you can out of that data, how to protect that data. Like right now, with ransomware and different security problems, it's helping companies get the best out of what they have, right?
Okay.
So that's really what I do with my company now is, we help you with that digital transformation into the next phase, just securing everything, getting you the best performance you can get, and just help guiding you on your way. So my thing is understanding how IT helps your business, right?
Right.
Like, this is
That's
how you're
cool.
here's the bottom line. How's what we're proposing going to save you money in the long run, or is it's going to cost you money, but it's going to give you these benefits?
What's the value of it? Yeah.
Exactly. What's the value of your IT transformation right now?
Okay, I got to embrace that, because I'm going to need that. Every week I get an email from Apple telling me I got to increase my cloud storage. all those pictures. What's next for you? I mean, if Hunter and Logan asked you, said, Dad, what are you going after next? What do you see now? 43 is young. That's
Yeah.
man. In this day and age, that's
Yeah.
incredibly
Well,
young.
the funny thing is, like, I'm really excited about, I've started Technical, and I'm excited. Like, the company's got a great vision. I'm working with some great people.
Amazing.
Guys, I'm working with some of my best buddies. So that's really cool.
That's
Yeah,
cool. That
for
live on
sure.
the 404.
The camaraderie right there.
Yeah, and
The
that's
404 boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I just feel like going from there is, let's start building, I always call it, let's build my enterprise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to expand doing something else. Like, I'm going to get my website back up and running. I don't know what I want to do with that other than tell a story. That's
Yeah.
really all it'll be for me. Like, people have always said, Sean, why don't you start a podcast? And it's always been interesting, but it's a full-time job too, right? It's a real commitment. It's a real journey. To me, I just have a lot of things that I like to say, and they're never related. That's the funny thing. Like, sometimes, and the fact that I like, some people like start an MMA podcast. I'm like, I don't want an MMA podcast. There's lots
Right.
of those out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you mean a lot of times it's almost like, and I'm not an expert, but it's like kids sports.
Right.
I
Yeah.
almost want to talk sometimes about my son's hockey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Vent
sure.
and about different training.
You know
that
what?
I'm
That's
doing for 'em.
actually a great thing, because just listen, parents talk about their kids and they end up talking about sport, because it's a huge thing. The majority of families have their kids in some type of organized sport. Major sacrifice
It is
for the
big.
entire family. There's everything from how to be the best type of player parent possible. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Like mental toughness.
yeah, everything from mental
Yeah,
toughness
yeah.
to like, how do you push them without pushing them over the edge?
man.
How do you get the coach?
I search for
How
those.
do you get the coach to put your son in?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I watched. Have you guys ever seen Friday Night Tykes?
No.
Friday Night Tights.
Go to Tykes.
Oh, okay.
Tykes.
So go check out on Netflix Friday
Okay.
Night Tykes.
Okay.
It made me so. I'm fairly hard on my kids. I'll
Okay.
admit it. My
Yeah.
wife's like, "What are you doing?" And
Yeah.
but that's the way I
Hey,
grew
it's
up. Like
better. Yeah.
my parents are hard on me. right?
Refined by fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I watched Friday Night Tykes. I made my wife watch a little bit of it. See how nice I am. These
this is
coaches
like
were
next-
ruthless. It's about football in southern USA,
Oh,
Okay.
Wonderful.
like Texas football.
Oh,
about
yeah.
7-8-year-old kids.
Which it's a religion. I mean, it's
Oh,
life.
my.
Football in
Wow.
America.
There's
is,
kids throwing up, concussions, get out there. I'm just sitting there watching, going, "Oh my god!" But
Yeah.
it gets catchy.
Wow.
It's called Friday Night Tykes. I think it went 3 seasons. The first season is the one, because I think what happened after the first season, people realized
How
some of
bad it is.
They're like, "Oh man, we're on camera." So they got a little more flex, but they
Yes.
really push their kids in. But it does make you understand that your kids can be pushed,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? I think now we don't. In general, too many parents want to fix all problems that their kids have.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? And we're all guilty of it. We all want our kids to have these lives that, they're perfect lives, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to go through the same trials and tribulations that we all did.
Absolutely.
But we try to get them to not make the same mistakes. But I go, these are the same mistakes that people have made for generations and generations and generations. It's a
Right.
normal mistake.
Yes.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But we all try to protect our kids from it, or we try to just educate them to make a better decision than we probably made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it just shows you these kids can be pushed. They're resilient, right? Like,
Absolutely.
I've seen like lacrosse. So my kid playing lacrosse, that's a wake up call, because that's a one sport to me I say is untouched by society. Every sport has got a societal influence where it's
Right.
been brought back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, no hitting. Let's be nice.
Yep.
Lacrosse, you see these 5 and 6-year-old kids knocking each other over, and you just sit there and you turn your head and you go, "Is that allowed?" You're like,
Wow.
but what it did is it shows your kids that they're resilient.
That's
Right.
awesome.
If I see a kid, a child cry at the younger age, it's not usually because they're hurt.
Mm.
Their pride is hurt. They were knocked down,
Yes.
right? They might have a bruise, this and that, but they'll get over that.
Yeah.
And lacrosse I felt it showed my kid that he is like, my older boy's not a big guy. He's average, a smaller sized boy right now, and he gets hit, knocked down, like he'll jump up quick. He's
Yeah.
not staying down, and I appreciate that the sports have shown him that. Like, listen,
That's awesome.
you're Superman. I grew up thinking I was Superman. Like that. That's life. Now I think I'm Batman. I am a real person, but I'm just Batman.
Yeah.
But it's just that thought that you can accomplish anything, right?
Yes.
And that's what I mean by Superman. That
Right.
the world is mine. I can
Right.
do whatever I want with it.
Yeah.
And that's how you want your kids to grow up.
Yeah.
There are no limitations. I know that I made a poster in university saying, what was it? Limitation, something like life's opportunity is only, or no, limitation is only your imagination,
Mm.
right?
Ooh, nice.
Just basically saying anything you can imagine, because there's so many things that we didn't think you could do as kids.
Right.
And now, like, I still remember Napster.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Dude,
Yes.
like, you talk about ideas that changed the way the world works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You change whole industries and
Yeah.
things like that. Like
It's a
someone
game- it's a
imagined,
game-
hey, I can
game
do
changer.
this.
Yes.
And now you look at it. That's Apple Music, Google
It's everything.
Music,
It's everything.
It's,
Yeah.
so
Netflix, that's how everything basically
yeah,
works.
it just
streaming.
someone had an idea
Right.
that most people would have said no, not possible, but he in his head, no, it's possible.
Yes.
And here we go, and it's just you imagine something, you can do it. That goes with sports, with life, with business. Your imagination is this crazy thing, right? And
Oh, yeah.
that's why I think sometimes in school we limit those imaginations too much. Like we put kids in a box too much, that you should do this, do that. When you just got to let these kids just go off, and they got these big brains at this young
Yeah.
age. So my son's in the chess team in school, and I was like, chess team? I'm like, cool. So he goes to his first chess tournament last week, and so I call him. I have no idea what I was going to do. I haven't played chess with him. He just sort of joined on his own, and I'm like, so how'd you do it? He goes, I had 5 games. Oh, did you win any of them? He goes, I won them all. And I'm like, oh, that's, in my head, I'm like, that's
Wow.
awesome, because I'm always there for sports, but I've never
Yes.
really been there for, like, chess. I don't know. How do I watch that? Like,
Yeah,
I don't-
yeah.
Yeah.
And then we're at
Which there is. I mean, it is.
100%.
There's
Yeah.
a huge following.
But
Huge
we're at
following.
a friend's birthday party this weekend, and he played my buddy. He played my buddy. He played one of my other buddies. He played the daughter, and he won 3 out of the 4 games. And
Wow.
my kid's 10.
Wow.
But because again, chess, it's repetition, right? It's
Yes.
in there. It's that
Yes.
high level thinking, but also it comes down to you practice,
That's right.
you get good at a game. So, I just realized, I'm like, he's out thinking people. That's really what this game's
That's
about.
what it
It's about
represents.
out thinking people, and
Out-thinking.
that just
He's being
lets me realize
tactical,
that
sure.
how smart our youth are, right? It's not talking about my boy alone. It's talking about
Right.
our kids in general are so smart,
Yes.
and we don't give them enough credit.
Right.
Like the one thing that drives us nuts with my son is he asks a million questions, and people are like, "Well, that's a good thing." Sometimes you're like, "Stop asking questions," but he's just craving for knowledge,
Yeah.
right?
That's amazing.
which is
man.
which is just awesome. You just see that, and you're like, he's not afraid to ask questions. I'll tell you that. He'll come here and be like, "How's the mic work? Oh, what's this wire here?
Yeah.
Why is this like this? Why isn't it wireless?
Why is that sponge there?
Why,
Yeah.
why is it not wireless? Everything's
Yeah.
wireless now.
Yeah.
What
I
is it?" It's like, but he will ask you every single question and get details, and you're like, man,
Listen.
hey, my dad's
That's who you
earphones, they're
learn.
wireless. Why
Yeah.
is there a wire here?
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing because it actually shows that he wants to learn, right, and better himself. Look, Sean, I mean, I know you're really busy and you got to go somewhere after this, but I want to just say this. We've learned something amazing here today, and I think a lot of people listening to this as well, and that's starting from believing. However, what I do want to ask you is, as a last question, what would you say? I know Mike usually likes to probe this question too, because we want this to really be something that people can learn from, get motivated, get their little bit of oomph,
Or challenge the thinking.
right? The challenge of exactly. For someone that's listening, and it doesn't have to be UFC, it could be anything. What would you say to them outside of believing to start doing right now to rewire the mind to kind of start moving? What would that advice be?
To me, it's all about setting goals. Like, that's what changed me in everything. So, and when I say set goals, a goal is not win a gold medal or, be a UFC champion. That's
Right.
an outcome.
Right.
You set goals. So you set what outcome you want. So let's say, but then or we'll say that your big goal is, I want to be successful in business, or I want to be a successful entrepreneur, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But then the key in life is you set sub goals now. In order to achieve this, what are the goals underneath that I have to achieve? And I do this for everything. I do this for sales opportunities. I do this for being good at sports. I do this for even with my kids.
You build a plan.
I build a plan.
Yeah.
I put sub goals down. So for me in wrestling, I remember, okay, I want to win the national championships. Okay, well, I need to be able to defend a double leg. I need to be able to do this, do that. So I had plans at practices that I work on certain things. Because to me, what happens is we set these large goals, larger than life goals, which is great. We can all achieve a larger than life goal. But if we don't have sub goals in order to get there, what's the plan to get there?
Yes.
No
you
one
go.
gives us that plan. No one's going to give you a handwritten plan on success.
Yeah.
So you have to start to put your own plan together, what you think you need to do to get there, and work on those little individual parts.
That's good.
And as you work on those parts, you'll realize that things will start to glide into place, and maybe your sub goals will change now because you become more educated.
Right.
But if
Yeah.
you don't have a set plan to start on, you'll never start,
Yeah.
right? Because if you wait for the perfect plan, you just never start going anywhere.
It's so true.
This is what I think I need to do, and you start working on it now,
Yeah.
and you keep track of that stuff.
There you go, man.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It-
Believe.
it's like 100%
set goals.
practical.
Yeah.
That is the truth.
That is.
Anyone can say, I'm going to make the NBA one day, but Do you put the goals and do you work toward them? You
That's
know?
right.
Yeah.
Amazing. Sean, thank you so much for coming down today, man. I mean,
Pleasure.
I'm really, really happy we had you on here. And
Yeah. I hope you that this births your podcast, man.
Yeah.
Maybe Win Life with Sean Pierson.
Yeah,
Win
yeah.
life,
There,
win
there-
life.
there you go. Yeah.
Win Life
yeah,
kids. I don't know, like there's something there, man. You definitely have a great pulse on what it takes, and kids need to hear it. Like I'll say this. I'll speak on behalf of Toronto. Kids need to toughen up in this city. Okay. I am the spokesperson for every kid out there. They need to get toughened up, and there's
Yeah.
something about someone like the journey you have that can
Yes.
definitely help them, you know, and give them an insight. And I mean this. A lot of parents are afraid to say the things that you live or live through, and that's the truth. So, yeah, I hope something comes out of it, man.
Yeah.
No, we'll see. And again, it's one of those things that I've got on my agenda to analyze and see if it's something that I want to do. But I will, I'll bring my website back alive, and I'll probably start adding to it. At first, it was like I was going to do a blog, but then blogs have sort of died now
Yeah.
to the
They have.
podcast, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it's just
for
the
a kid. I'm telling you, man. If 10-year-olds out there, if they just put something or listen to something and it said you are resilient, and you just for 3 minutes you went off on why you're resilient and what you can bounce back from, and like I'm telling you, that'd be power. That is power
I think
for
so.
a kid.
I think the
Because
short,
kids believe. We
They
talked
do.
about it, right?
Yep.
They believe.
Right.
They believe when you're young. When you get older, you get smarter, and then we basically say, I don't believe anymore.
Yes.
That's what dies.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
The belief dies, and then the dream goes with it. But if you give them some of these things, oh man, I think amazing things can happen from it. You never know what it sparks.
For sure.
Yeah.
Amazing.
cool.
Well, thank you so much, man.
Nice.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Listen to this episode on iTunes and Spotify. Make sure to drop by next week. And don't forget to subscribe.
Let's go!
It's time to give a shout out to our sponsors. This podcast is brought to you by Sentinel Security Plus. For all your premium security needs, visit SentinelSecurityPlus.com.
And The Substance Group for all your integrated marketing solutions. Visit TheSubstanceGroup.com.